Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 10.
And it starts with something that seems almost, well, minor. A schoolyard fight. An elite school, mind you.
Yeah, but this little scuffle, it immediately pulls on all these threads. You start seeing this complex, almost terrifying web of financial dependence and really intense psychological pressure.
So we're kind of using this chapter as a social laboratory, right? Looking at the sources here in Chapter 10.
Exactly, trying to pull out the economic truths, the emotional truths that are kind of hidden just beneath the surface.
Our mission really is to get a handle on what life was actually like for the people orbiting the main Jia family, the Ning and Rong households.
Especially how being lower down the social ladder, how that translates directly into, well, constant stress, real vulnerability for everyone caught up in it.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The catalyst is this fight you mentioned between Jin Rong and Qin Zong at the family school.
Right. And it ends badly for Jin Rong. He's forced to kowtow, apologize publicly to Qin Zong.
So Jin Rong goes home, and he is absolutely furious, steaming.
Understandably, perhaps, he feels humiliated, unfairly treated.
And his argument is interesting. He's like, Qin Zong isn't even a real Jia. He's just Jia Rong's brother-in-law, a relative by marriage.
Yeah, he accuses him of basically leveraging this very loose connection to Bao Yu, who's the golden child of the family.
And doing, quote, sneaky secret things. Like he's manipulating everyone and thinks nobody notices.
It's that classic sound, isn't it? Sort of entitled teenage anger smashing right up against the harsh reality of adult poverty and dependence.
And that's the pivot right there. Schoolyard drama suddenly becomes about hard economics, survival, really.
Exactly, because we immediately meet Jin Rong's mother, who's she.
And her reaction is instant. It's desperate. She just shuts him down. Not because she doesn't maybe see his point, but...
But because she knows exactly what's on the line for their family, she gets the bigger picture.
She understands that this spot at the Jia family school, it's not just about prestige. It's a lifeline. A huge subsidy keeping them afloat.
And she reminds him, point blank, how they even got that spot in the first place. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, she says something like, look, I begged your aunt, and your aunt pulled every string she could just to talk to Wang Chifeng.
Who is, let's remember, maybe the most powerful and financially savvy woman in the whole clan, the second mistress of the Western residents.
So getting that spot wasn't merit. It was a massive social favor, carefully negotiated.
And the practical benefits are, well, immense for a family like theirs. The school covers costs that would just sink them otherwise.
Free tea, free meals. Who she points out explicitly, doesn't she, that it saves them considerable expenditure. The text uses the term zhuyong.
Right. And for a family that's just scraping by, those small daily savings on basics, they add up. It's significant relief.
But here's the really crucial part, I think. The key bit of knowledge about their survival strategy.
The networking.
Exactly. The networking the school allows. Who she points out, because you go there, you met Elder Master Su, Zhu Deye.
And that connection is their actual lifeline. It's not theoretical. Over the last couple of years, this Elder Master Su has given them, what was it?
70 or 80 taels of silver.
70 or 80 taels. I mean, for a lower status dependent family, you have to understand, that's not just a bit of extra cash. That could be more than a year's living expenses, maybe even 2.
It's life-changing money, crisis-averting money.
Absolutely. So when Hushi warns him off, she's not worried about his grades slipping.
No way. She's talking about their entire financial support system collapsing. Losing the school spot means losing Elder Master Su, losing the free meals, everything.
She puts it perfectly, doesn't she? If he gets himself kicked out, trying to find anything similar would be, quote, harder than ascending to heaven.
It just reveals so starkly. For these families in the Jia orbit, social access wasn't some abstract thing.
No, it wasn't about prestige points or future career planning. It was literal day-to-day financial survival. That spot in the school, that's their family's most reliable asset.
It's amazing how fragile their existence really is. The whole thing hinges on a teenager swallowing an insult. But the story doesn't stop there, with Hushi's warning. Because even facing financial ruin, the family still feels wronged. They want justice.
Which brings us to the next stage, Section 2. This desperate attempt to actually leverage the little status they do have.
Right. Enter Madame Huang, Jin Rong's aunt.
Okay, and she's married to Jia Huang, who is a Jia relative, but a pretty distant one, from the Jade generation, but not core family.
And she seems to have a different mindset, maybe more traditional, about how the social system is supposed to work.
Yeah, though it's important to note, her family is also very dependent. The text says they rely on assistance Zizu from Yushi.
Who's Jia Zhen's wife, head of the Ning residence.
And from Wang Shifeng as well, just to make ends meet. So they're dependents too.
But they still seem to cling to this idea that status, even really thin status like theirs, it has to mean something. It has to be respected.
So when Madame Huang hears what happened to her nephew, this humiliation, she's outraged.
Totally incensed. And she decides, right, her mission is to march straight over to the Ning residence.
Yeah, go to the top, basically. Confront the key women there, Yushi, the mistress of the house, and Qinshi.
Qinzong's sister, who's married to Yushi's son, Jiarong. So Qinshi is the daughter-in-law.
And Madame Huang's whole argument rests on this, like, comparison of kinship, doesn't it?
Yeah, she basically says, okay, fine, this Qinzong kid is related by marriage, but hey, isn't Jinrong also a Jia relative?
She still believes that system, the old system of social duty and family ties, can be used, can be leveraged for revenge, or at least for, basic dignity.
And this contrast is fascinating. You have Hu Shi, the mother, understanding the cold, hard reality. It's all about money now, financial dependence, utility.
While Madame Huang is operating on this older assumption that the rules of status, just sharing the Jia surname, however distantly, must make the powerful people act fairly.
It feels like a huge risk, though. She is terrified, begs her not to go, warns her, if you make a scene, they'll just cut us off. Jinrong will lose his place.
So why does Madame Huang do it? If the financial danger is so obvious, doesn't she get that their distant kinship might be worth less than, nothing?
I think she probably assumes, or hopes, that appealing directly to the heads of the house, to Yushi, forces their hand. They have to maintain appearances, right? Save face.
Yeah.
Adhere to the moral code of kinship, even if it's stretched thin.
She's prioritizing family honor, maybe, over the pragmatic financial need. It just shows how dangerous it is to misjudge the power dynamic when you're at the bottom.
She thinks she has leverage, status leverage.
When the reality is the Jia family doesn't really owe her anything. She's completely dispensable if she causes trouble.
Well, then, just as she gets to Ningfu, ready for this big confrontation,
something else takes over completely.
Yeah, the whole thing just gets derailed instantly. Her conversation with Yushi immediately shifts. It pivots away from the school fight.
And straight into this major crisis happening inside the household, this serious illness of Qinshi.
That's almost like a defense mechanism, isn't it? Internal crisis always trumps these kinds of external demands in these big, structured households.
Absolutely. The anxiety generated within the system becomes its own shield.
So Yushi, the mistress, she's clearly distraught. Her daughter-in-law, Qinshi, has been sick for more than 2 months.
And they've had doctors. Her period is late, but it's explicitly confirmed. Not pregnancy. This is something else.
Her symptoms sound really debilitating. Listlessness, especially in the afternoon. Doesn't want to talk or move. Dizzy eyes. The text has that striking phrase,
Yanshin Faxuan. Yeah, like her gaze is swimming, unfocused. She's physically collapsing under some kind of internal pressure.
He just heaps praise on her, which is important context for why this is such a crisis.
Definitely. She calls her the perfect wife. Beautiful, wonderful temperament. Everyone loves her. Totally irreplaceable.
Uses that phrase, you couldn't find a wife like her, even if you went looking with a lantern.
So Qinshi isn't just anyone. She's seen as this kind of emotional, social linchpin for that branch of the family. Her being sick is a huge deal, a consuming problem.
And then we find out what made her condition, which was already bad, suddenly get much worse today.
And the source draws a direct line. No ambiguity. It goes right back to the school drama.
Her brother, Qinzong, came to see her that morning.
And apparently just carelessly told her all about the fight, about the kowtowing, about the accusations Jinrong was making against him.
And Ijin explains Qinshi's nature, her personality. She says she's fine-hearted and heavy-hearted. Shin's Sinju Zong.
Meaning she's incredibly sensitive, takes things to heart, and worries intensely. Any little thing can upset her for days.
So this illness, it's explicitly linked to her being overly sensitive, overly worried, psychological, manifesting physically.
And Yushi says she's stressed on 2 fronts. First, she's angry about these confused dog-like friends, Hooping Guyu dragging the family name through the mud with rumors and trouble.
And second, she's deeply upset and worried that her own brother, Qinzong, isn't focusing on his studies, which is kind of what led to this whole mess at school in the first place.
So it's this combination of social outrage, moral distress, maybe fear about reputation.
And probably the immense pressure of maintaining her own perfect wife image in this environment.
Yeah.
It all just becomes physical, somatic.
Yeah, the proof is right there. She skipped breakfast entirely. She had to really push her, coax her, just to eat half a bowl of bird's nest soup.
Which is itself a sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bird's nest soup is precious, restorative. Giving her that shows the high level of concern, the effort to stabilize her immediately.
Right, and that's the moment. That's the scene that greets Madame Huang.
She arrived ready to demand justice, using her flimsy status as leverage.
And she walks right into this atmosphere of genuine crisis and grief. She's totally thrown off, terrified by how sick Qin actually is, probably unnerved by Yushi's hospitality and obvious distress.
And she instantly gets it. The internal crisis is just vastly bigger than her external complaint about the school fight.
Yeah, her anger just evaporates. She completely drops the subject of her nephew's humiliation, makes some polite inquiries, and leaves pretty quickly after Jia Zhen, the master of the house, arrives. Yeah, the crisis wasn't just, the illness itself. It was a crisis of knowing what was wrong. The family was getting desperate. These doctors they'd hired before, they're actually making things worse.
How so? They sounded very attentive.
Oh, extremely. Visiting 4, maybe 5 times a day, super polite, bowing, scraping.
But the medicine wasn't working.
Not at all. Their prescriptions were basically useless. So it sounds like they were just agreeing with whatever the family or staff suggested, maybe throwing in some fancy medical jargon.
Okay, but get this. You mentioned they were making things worse.
Right. Because think about it. Jean, she's already weak, and she's forced to get up, change her clothes 4 or 5 times a day just to properly receive these doctors.
Wow. So the constant visits, the formality, was actually a health risk.
Absolutely. Risking getting chilled, getting weaker. These doctors, you see, were probably more scared of offending the powerful Jias than, actually getting the diagnosis right. Social niceties over clinical truth.
And that led to total confusion. Jia Zhen, the head of the family, he's described as just anxious because nobody could even agree on the basics. Was it a pregnancy? Or was it a serious disease?
That failure to define the problem, that was the real emergency. They couldn't even get step 1 right.
When doctors can't even agree if it's good news or bad news?
Yeah,
you're in trouble.
they needed someone different, someone who could cut through the noise.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where do you find that kind of expertise when the usual channels fail? So the standard high society doctors are proving useless. How do they find someone better?
Well, it came through a connection. Ji Zhen's friend, Feng Xing, he recommended his old teacher, a physician named Zhang Yuanxi.
And what was his reputation? Was he known?
Oh, yes. The sources describe him as having most profound learning, deeply knowledgeable in medical principles, San Yin, even supposedly able to predict life and death. He was known for real substance, not just showing up.
Interesting. But there's a fascinating little detail about why he was even in the capital, isn't there?
Right. He wasn't just there practicing medicine. He was actually in town helping his son navigate the process of basically purchasing an official government position.
So even this master physician is caught up in the practicalities of social climbing and bureaucracy. It's a good reminder, isn't it? These weren't just abstract scholars.
Exactly. They were operating in a very real, very hierarchical world. Scholars, yes, but also pragmatists looking out for their family's future.
Which makes his reaction when the Jias invited him even more striking. He didn't rush over immediately, did he?
No, quite the opposite. He politely refused to come right away. Said he was too tired from visiting other people all day.
Wait, he told the powerful Jia family he needed a nap first, while their relative is seriously ill.
Essentially, yes. But it wasn't arrogance. He insisted he needed a full night's rest to examine the pulse properly. He said he'd come the next day, fully focused.
Okay, I see. So it wasn't disrespect, it was professional integrity.
I think so. He knew his main diagnostic tool, his own sensitivity to the pulse, required him to be at his best. He couldn't be fatigued.
Unlike the other doctors rushing in and out.
Exactly. He was making a statement. My diagnostic ability is paramount, and I won't compromise it, not even for your understandable anxiety. That alone set him completely apart. So when Zhang Yuanqi finally arrives the next day, you can imagine the anticipation.
Definitely.
And Jia, the patient's husband, starts to do the usual thing, listing all the symptoms first, trying to be helpful.
Like briefing the doctor.
Right. But Zhang Yuanqi just stops him. Politely but firmly. He says, and this is key, I will first look at the pulse, and then we can discuss whether my findings are correct.
Wow. No preconceptions. Let the body speak first. That's bold.
It's pure confidence in his method. And the examination itself, it wasn't quick. He spent a long time, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. The text says half a quarter of an hour, just focused on the right wrist.
7 or 8 minutes on one wrist.
Then he did the same thing, just as long, just as focused on the left wrist.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. What is he possibly picking up in that time? Just from feeling a pulse?
He's essentially reading the body's entire internal landscape. In traditional Chinese medicine, the pulse isn't just about heart rate, it's incredibly nuanced. Different positions on the wrist, different depths, different qualities, they all map to specific organ systems and their condition.
So what did he find for Qianxi?
He identified 4 critical, interconnected patterns that basically told her whole story.
Okay, break it down for us.
Let's start with the left wrist. The first position, the kun position, relates to the heart. He found it was deep and fast.
Isn't it fast? What does that signify?
Deep suggests the energy is kind of hidden or weakened, submerged. Fast means there's agitation, like heat. So think of an engine running really hot but low on oil. It points to heart key deficiency, but it's generating this internal fire out of sheer exhaustion.
Okay, heart running on empty, creating heat. What about the next position on the left, the guan, for the liver?
That one was deep and submerged.
Yeah.
Even deeper, really stuck. The liver's job is ensuring smooth flow of energy, like traffic control. Submerged means major gridlock, liver key stagnation. And because things aren't moving, the system is also starved of blood.
So heart exhausted, liver stuck. What about the right wrist? That's lungs and digestion, right?
Correct. The right kun, the lung position, he described as fine and weak. The lungs relate to our defensive energy, our key shield against the outside world. Fine and weak means that shield is thin, fragile. Her overall defense system was depleted.
Okay, heart, liver, lungs all compromised. What about the last one, the right guan position? Spleen, right, the digestive center.
Yes, and this was crucial. He found it slow and spiritless. The spleen is like the body's central processing unit for transforming food into energy. Slow and spiritless means that whole system is just offline, depleted, not generating resources.
Yeah.
And crucially, in TCM theory, the weak spleen Earth couldn't control the stagnant liver would. It was being overwhelmed.
That is an incredibly detailed picture just from the pulse.
Yeah.
But the real proof is linking it to how she actually felt, right?
Exactly. And this is where he just floored everyone. Based only on those pulse findings, he started listing her symptoms. So remember that, heart fire from deficiency. He predicted irregular menstruation and, significantly, trouble sleeping at night. Classic sign of that pattern.
Makes sense. What about the stuck liver?
That accounted for physical things, pain or fullness under her ribs, and again, reinforcing the irregular period, specifically delayed menstruation, plus a feeling of internal heat.
Okay. And the weak lung qi, the fragile defense shield.
This is where the symptoms get fascinatingly specific. He predicted she'd have spells of dizziness. And get this, a feeling like she was sitting in a boat. Feeling like
She's on a boat. How would you even guess that?
Right. It's not a common symptom you just throw out there. It points to a very specific kind of internal imbalance affecting her equilibrium. And he also predicted sweating, but only during a specific time window, between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Well, why that specific time?
In the TCM body clock, those hours relate directly to the lung and liver channels. So the timing itself was diagnostic, confirming a deep-seated issue there.
That's uncanny. And the spleen, the spiritless digestion.
That explained the more general symptoms. Poor appetite, mental fatigue, that feeling of heaviness or weakness in the limbs, just overall lack of energy and vitality.
And the family's reaction.
A matron who knew Qinxi's condition well basically confirmed everything, said his accuracy was like a deity's. She pointed out how wildly the other doctors had differed, one saying pregnancy, another disease, another saying something vague about it being irrelevant, and one just fearing the winter solstice. Total chaos.
So Zhang Yuanqi didn't just list symptoms. He provided a coherent system that explained them all. But then he went even deeper, didn't he? He linked it to her mind.
Yes, this is maybe the most profound part. He directly connected the physical state to her personality. He described Qinxi as being too intelligent and high-spirited.
Too smart for her own good, essentially.
In a way, he reasoned that because she was so clever and had such high standards, she was constantly experiencing disappointment. The world and maybe the people around her just couldn't meet her expectations.
And that led to
Chronic underlying worry and frustration. This constant mental and emotional strain, he concluded, was the root cause.
So the illness wasn't just random. It grew out of her specific psychological makeup and how she reacted to her life.
Precisely. The official diagnostic pattern was worry injures the spleen, liver wood is excessive. The worry weakened her digestive center, spleen, which then couldn't properly balance the liver. The liver energy, already prone to frustration in someone high-strung, became excessive and sort of ran rampant,
Creating that internal imbalance.
leading to what TCM calls a water deficiency and wood excess pattern. The foundational water, kidney adrenal energy perhaps, was depleted, and the wood, liver, was overactive. That's why, he explained, her periods were always delayed 2, 3, sometimes even 10 days late. Her overthinking, high-strung mind was literally disrupting her body's cycles.
Okay, so now they have a clear, deep diagnosis. But what about the prognosis? Was it good news?
Well, not exactly straightforward. Zhang Yuanqi was honest. He said the illness had been neglected for too long. He gave her only a 3 out of 10 chance of full recovery.
Only 30%. Wow. Coming from a doctor in that hierarchical setting, saying that to the Jia family, that takes guts. It suggests he really believed it.
It really does. It shows his commitment to telling the truth, however difficult. But he did offer a sliver of hope tied directly back to the mind-body connection.
How so?
He said if she could start sleeping properly at night, tackling that heart fire driven by exhaustion and worry, her chances would improve to 5 out of 10. Halfway there.
So managing the mental state was key to physical recovery.
Absolutely. He also gave some immediate reassurance. He said she would likely be okay through the coming winter.
Thank you.
Addressing their immediate fears.
The long-term recovery.
That, he warned, could only really be expected after the spring equinox.
Why wait until spring? Why the specific timing?
It suggests the healing needed was deep. It wasn't a quick fix. Spring, in TCM, is associated with the liver and the natural rising of yang energy. He was implying that her recovery needed to align with that natural cycle of renewal. Deep healing takes time and follows nature's rhythm.
Okay, so the plan involved patience and a specific treatment. What was the prescription he gave Jia wrong?
It was a complex herbal formula, and its name basically tells you the strategy. Yu.
That's a mouthful. What did it translate to?
Roughly, qi boosting, nourishment enriching, spleen harmonizing, and liver regulating decoction.
So the name is literally the treatment plan. Boost the weak parts, calm the overactive parts.
Exactly. You're boosting the fundamental energy, qi, and the blood, nourishment, rebuilding the depleted spleen, and soothing or regulating that agitated liver.
Did the source mention any specific ingredients?
Yes, it highlights things you'd expect for that strategy. Ingredients like ginseng and probably Chinese yam to tonify the spleen qi, the digestive power. Herbs like Rehmannia and angelica root to build back the blood that the liver stagnation was consuming. And then herbs like bupleurum or cyperus to gently move that stuck liver qi, ease the frustration.
A very tailored approach. And Jia Zhen, the patriarch, how did he react to all this?
He clearly recognized the difference between this and the previous doctors. The precision, the depth, the coherent plan. It must have been a huge contrast. The text says he immediately ordered them to use their best quality, most expensive ginseng for the formula.
A sign of respect and maybe desperation, too.
Yeah.
He knew this was likely their best shot.
Absolutely. He understood the gravity and the legitimacy of what Zhang Yuanqi had laid out.